Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. In this video, I will discuss the cowardice of one group on certain subjects when dealing with certain subjects in certain times, and I will use South Africa as the example. Why? Because some alarming things happen in South Africa with this particular group. And if that would happen with any other group, I will still make the video because the principle is that's not right. The problem is if you see, let's say, a rape in progress, the person gets abducted, and after he gets abducted, right, apprehended by the police, and he gets charged, convicted, let's say with 10 years in prison. But then you catch your uncle or my uncle, and he gets apprehended for the same crime and he gets 2 months in prison. Don't you think that it's a discrepancy between how justice was served? So for me, it's the same crime. Different people don't matter. It's the same crime. So what happened? I'm going to start with the article. And then after I'm going to discuss this a little bit, I will go in history with South Africa. Here. This is the article. The Hill. This is from 2 days ago because I was waiting for some more information on this one. United States to begin admitting white South African refugees. Now, think about this being reversed. Being not this white South African, let's say there are black Africans living, a country because is garbage in that country. Wouldn't you say the same thing? Well, I would say the same thing. Something is wrong. Now, I will explain it in the context of the United States of America, the most powerful country in the world, who smacked South Africa before 1994. Why? Because what was in South Africa until 1994 was wrong. Well, I'm talking about apartheid, of course. Crimes were committed on all sides. Why? Even I will explain later, Mr. Mandela's little coalition. So you would say, well, they leave, they don't like it, they leave. Well, why do they leave? Because they don't like it there? Because what? They don't like that the apartheid was just, disintegrated? I don't think so. And it's not discussing that issue. It's discussing the United States of America's reaction to that. So the United States will begin admitting the first group of white South African refugees next week, whom President Trump administration has argued have been victims of racial discrimination. The refugee program is not intended as a solution for global poverty, and historically it has been used that way. This is an example of the president returning the refugee program to what it's intended to be used as. White House Deputy Chief Steve Miller said. And he says here again, I'm quoting, what happening in South Africa fits the textbook definition of why the refugee program was created, race-based persecution. Miller, Trump's chief, I like Miller, he's Jewish, but I like him, chief immigration policy architect, told reporters. So, what happened? My point is not that, my point is with the US reaction. What if, let's say this white, whatever, or let's say there will be black people being refugees coming to the United States of America because, they were discriminated in Germany, or in Poland, or in Romania, or in Albania. What do you think the United States would have done? We just say, come over here, it's their problem over there. But it was not the same thing with the genocide in Yugoslavia, how they called it, in 1999, remember? We bombed the shit out of Yugoslavia. Remember? We imposed sanctions on Yugoslavia. Remember? Why is there a different reaction to this specific group? That's my problem. Now, let me show you how this was, how I saw it in the news when I picked it. Because the title is different here. The title is different than the other headline. So here is the headline. And I'm going to show you, when I got it, the title on Yahoo was this. Ready? All right, there. This was. It says what? The first group of white South African refugees to head to U.S. on government charter jet. Well, what does that mean? To me, it means this. a retreat. Don't you fix things, you just retreat. So those people are refugees, they're leaving the country. Anybody will fix that? Now, you may argue that no, that's no discrimination in South Africa. Well, I urge you to read more about that. I'm very familiar with my friends from Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, and in South Africa, the incidents that occurred in those times and how the West dropped them. That's exactly. They imposed sanctions on them because of the apartheid and so on. So that was the reason why, one of the reasons why those guys collapsed, which was, okay, we have freedom, democracy, and so on. But now this is a kind of a reverse thing. Will the United States do the same thing it did then? No. Why? Well, because they are employed, or how do you call it? They employ or are engaged in selective justice, selective outrage. I didn't hear any sanctions. Did you hear any sanctions? All right, so let me tell you my story with these guys. And I'm going to show you first with Klerk. All right, Mr. De Klerk. If you remember, this is what he did after he was elected, right? Again here. And he says here, he also expresses desire to meet the representatives of the U.S. government in Washington, D.C. Although American Secretary of State James Baker informed him that the U.S. government considered it inopportune to have de Klerk meet with President George W. Bush. So this guy said, no, de Klerk, you can't come over here. All right, you can't come over here. This is de Klerk right here, with Mandela. Now you can see here, imprisoned anti-apartheid activist. Question for you. Do you know why Mandela was incarcerated? The charges and conviction? It's not because he was walking down the street and he said, go down, up apartheid, and say, okay, you can't say that, we're going to incarcerate you. Do you know why? If you're angry right now, that means you don't. Well, I urge you to do a little clicks and find out what he did. Even after he was imprisoned, his orders were going over there. I will give you just a few key words. All right? School, children, bus, and you go and check that out. And if you tell me it was not him, go and see the affiliations. Okay? So that's why this anti-apartheid activist, Nelson Mandela, was incarcerated. Yeah, he worked for get rid of apartheid. I'm all for that. But my problem is not with him. Why the Americans right now are retreating? Why these guys are retreating? Why don't you go and solve things? They could solve things. Why not? Why don't they get engaged? You run away? Why do you run away? You didn't run in 1994, 93, 92 when you put pressures on these guys. Arms sales, embargo. Again, how do you call those? Sanctions. You didn't want to meet the guy in 1994 when he won again. He was elected. My problem is with cowards. But here it's not about being cowards, because the United States of America did not change its status. It's still there, but chooses not to get engaged in this one. Why is that? Now, if you tell me it's because South Africa is too big, I'm not promoting attacking South Africa or anything like that. But I want at least to be consistent with your values, with your virtues, with your principles. So in Yugoslavia, you bombed those guys. I know. It's not the same thing. But it was white on white. But over there, something else. Are you afraid? What's going on here? And I have something more for you, my friends, regarding this issue. In an act of, I used rape. It does not matter if it's just a tip, or it's 2 pumps, or 3,000 pumps. It's still called rape, okay? So the same here, if you tell me it's not the same thing. Well, I gotta tell you that after 1994, when South Africa became fantastic, there were, and in my friends in Zimbabwe, if I remember correctly, or Rhodesia, how we want to call it, it was a so-called process of necklacing, one of the two. And that was a way of some groups, crazy people, going to white farmers overnight, get a family, rape this, rape that, and then put a tire over the head of whatever white. We have to put the race because, and burn it over there, burn the person over there. There were multiple crimes like this. Multiple. Was it reported here? So if you tell me about genocide with the Albanians in Yugoslavia, please look into that practice of necklacing with the tires above, and the white farmers issue in the 1990s. And first time when I was made aware of this, it was when I listened to Dr. William. Right? He was talking about this. Why? Because he had a certain kind of identity, and he identified as what he was. Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. I just wanted to draw attention to the double standards these guys are using. I'm just gonna retreat everybody, come back. That is a soft ethnic cleansing. It's a voluntary ethnic cleansing. That is, take Gaza. If I provide in Gaza such a life that cannot sustain, or some people will crack and will voluntarily migrate, leave, refugees, and then you clear Gaza right there. So if you create a bad situation, environment in one position, people will choose to leave. Some will stay, but you clear most of them. Now that's a soft ethnic cleansing for you. But that could be done with various laws, behaviors, practices in a society. You don't have to bomb people. You don't have to go to that one, but it's the same thing. You make them leave voluntarily. That's what happens, I think, in Gaza right now. If you flatten the thing, what do you think? And you block the food and water going inside, what are they going to do? Die like pests? The situation is not as bad, obviously, in South Africa, but people choose to leave. And these guys, we got them as refugees. No sanctions, nothing? Okay, all right, I got it. I guarantee you, if would have been a different kind of group, there would be a different kind of talk, and CNN would pick up the story and inform you and tell you what you need to what you need to think about it. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.